This was widely expected, but I think it's still sort of rattling people because it looked like a couple of months ago there was going to be some sort of détente in the trade war between the U.S. and China. But always on the back burner was this idea that it could be sort of expanded to Europe, to other parts of the world. Is this an expansion of that trade war now?
Well, to be honest, I'm actually heartened by the fact that this was taken care of within the WTO, and that's really the way things are supposed to work. Pre-Trump, you have an issue. If the U.S. had an issue with unfair trade practices, you take your case to the WTO, as they did with Airbus. This has been in the works for years. And you solve it through an arbitrated, multilateral approach. That's the way things should be done. So I like this result, even though it doesn't fit into the whole sort of narrative of free trade. You know, it's better, to me, it's a better way of doing things than doing unilateral tariffs and trade wars. That, to me, is the road that we don't want to go down.
Are you concerned at all about just the general idea that the traditional trade structure that we had, I guess, at one point, the traditional global markets that we've had, have sort of been fractured in a way that could be irreparable?
Well, that's the big question. We're in the third year of Mr. Trump's term. Like it or not, his approach has been very, very different. You know, as we mentioned, it's no longer the multilateral; it's a very mercantilist, unilateral approach. I don't think we've moved beyond the point of no return. You know, these kind of sort of policies could easily be reversed by the next administration. You know, be that who it is. But to me, you know, it's pretty clear. If you looked at anyone who's hoping for some sort of easing in trade tensions, go back to Mr. Trump's speech in front of the UN General Assembly last month.
Yeah,
it's pretty much fire and brimstone,
yes.
and he's following through on this. So the bad news is I don't see an easy, quick resolution to the U.S.-China trade tensions. It would easily go into next year. You know, he's thrown out, well, we may not have this by the election. It may be possible we don't see that. And, of course, that's the biggest risk for global markets right now.
Win, can I just circle back to what you said about the WTO? I appreciate that this is how things are meant to be handled, but traditionally the expectation was that the US would not impose sanctions, that there would be some sort of negotiated settlement here. That's not happening. Airbus has its own case. It's coming in 6 months' time. The two should cancel each other out. But the US has decided not to go down that road. That's got to be a worry.
Look, as we mentioned before, you know, we're already in a very, very sort of slippery slope in terms of global trade tensions, no doubt. We just had the WTO just released its trade forecast for this year and next. You know, very significant downward revisions. We've got Japan and European autos coming up on tap in November. We've got more tariffs on China coming October and December. So yes, you know, within this greater narrative, it's not good in terms of timing. But again, I do like the fact that the WTO is doing what it's supposed to do. It may not be what is the first best for everyone involved, but it is a sign that the multilateral process still works, and I'm all for that.